is KTN News.
Welcome back to Weekend Express. Time now to take a look at news making headlines on the dailies this morning. And in studio with us for this conversation, lawyer William Okech and Meshach Kimutai, who is an aspiring member of Parliament for Mgwen constituency, which is in Nandi County. Many thanks for joining us in studio, gentlemen. Thanks. And it's important to note that Meshach Kimutai is running as an independent candidate, and that is the focus of our conversation, even as we take a look at the papers this morning. So on the front page of the Sunday Standard there, Ruto takes charge of the Jubilee repeat poll. And on the front page of the Sunday Nation, inside story of the Jubilee nominations mess. This, of course, has been discussed in detail from left, right and center. But Meshach, just to get your comments on Jubilee's take two of the nominations exercise. You were previously in Jubilee and then decided to run as an independent candidate. Your thoughts on the nomination exercise now? Is it likely to be free and fair?
Actually, the mess that happened just the other day is one of the things that made me move out of vying on Jubilee to go as an independent candidate. Michelle, they've had like three months preparing for the nominations, right? And you heard the president saying yesterday that they were underprepared. So I don't know what they will do in 2 days to prepare for this nomination, because I don't think it's going to be free and fair too. So I think it's going to be shambolic, chaotic, and so confusing.
Why do you say that?
Because actually, you know, the concept for Jubilee Party primaries at the beginning is, you know, that is when the presidents say that they're going to give IBC to conduct the nominations, right? So I don't think political parties in Kenya, not only Jubilee, but even in ODM and other parties, I don't think we are ready yet for credible primaries. And as you can see, in other places, where the party has a stronghold, you can see that the nominations are nearly like elections, because you know, when people are elected there, they have a way through to the general elections, right? So my idea is that next time when we're having an elections in this country, political parties should give the mandate to the IBC to conduct, that is the nominations, just across the board. That is, be it Jubilee, be it NASA, IBC should conduct the nominations.
But right? I mean, William, constitutionally, I mean, parties are mandated to carry out their own primaries. It is a strictly a party event. And so what then would such a move to have IBC or parallel body conduct primaries mean? Does it mean a referendum? Does it mean a constitutional amendment?
There is a permissive clause in the Constitution that actually gives IBC the leeway to supervise and conduct party primaries. There is that clause in the Constitution. The only contradiction will be that the same Constitution also charges IBC with the mandate of resolving disputes arising from nominations. That's why political parties have preferred the option of conducting their own primaries, and then where there are disputes, where internal mechanisms of the party cannot resolve them, then they'll move to the IBC dispute settlement system.
Right.
But then, just as you mentioned earlier, there is, I think, in my view, a big business opportunity in that area of conduct and organization of party primaries. This activity can actually be outsourced. Yeah, political parties can, if there were a credible organization with the wherewithal, with the finance, with the manpower, to actually conduct those primaries. Yeah. And as it is right now, true, IBC would have conducted those primaries, but the challenge would have been, other than the issue of being an independent arbiter, cost, who will fund it?
Right.
Yeah, because for a moment, Jubilee Party had tried to push IBC into conducting their primaries. and that wanted the taxpayers to cover that
Fund it.
cost. But then the question will be then if Jubilee Party wants those primaries to be funded by the public exchequer, what will happen if other parties also demand the same treatment?
Right.
It will be very expensive.
And of course, you know, there's a lot more criticism directed towards Jubilee because it is the ruling party.
Yeah.
And, you know, many are questioning if they cannot hold proper nominations, then how then do we mandate them with running an entire government? But even taking a look at what happened on Friday, yes, the president did come out and apologize. We did have Raphael Tuju issue new dates, but there are things that happened during that nomination process. There were candidates that were found with weapons. There were candidates that were found with stuffed ballot papers. There were candidates that attacked each other, and there's enough evidence. But this has not been addressed by Jubilee to the public. So in terms of really saying that it will be transparent, free and fair, there are aspirants who feel like disciplinary action should be taken against some aspirants as it is. In terms of communication, William, has Jubilee really done it right in keeping that to themselves?
I think on the issue of enforcing conduct, the code of conduct, I think it is still wanting. Because there are instances, as we saw, weapons which were aligned to a certain candidate were recovered by police. There's been instances of violence across the board, both political parties. And we have not seen strict action being taken.
Right.
Each party had signed a commitment to enforce that code. But that is not being seen to be done. So then it really makes you wonder if that commitment was just on paper, or it was a genuine commitment. Yes.
I mean, Meshach, having come from Jubilee, do you trust that these are issues that will be solved internally without being addressed to the public? Is it something they're solving? Is it something they're just sweeping under the carpet, seemingly?
Actually, I'm happy. I've just seen a circular this morning that is IBC calling the national election, that is officials for parties, for a meeting this morning at Anniversary Towers, actually to address such issues. Yeah, because IBC has noticed that political parties across the board have not taken action that is to make sure that they have credible nominations. Actually, as you say, like for example, my county, Nandi, and Uasin Gishu, that is in Rift Valley, we have, I mean, it was total confusion because a night before the nominations, we had other candidates, yeah, who had stuffed their own ballot papers, yeah, and on the morning of the nomination, that is the nomination day, we had voting had not taken place, but we had some ballot papers had already been what?
Right.
Been marked. Yeah, that's it.
So these are things that really need to be addressed.
And it's going to happen more, that is on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Yeah?
And we'll have to wait and see whether that really will happen. But let's move on to the Sunday Nation and take a look at the Sunday Review. That's on page 17 of the Nation here. And the headline is Dissatisfied Losers Plan to Run as Independent Candidates. We have a picture there of a Funyula Member of Parliament, Paul Otuoma, who did decide to go at it alone after the nomination fiasco in Busia County. So the issue of claims of rigging and a lot of disgruntled aspirants are now deciding to go at it independently. And this is what I want us to focus on now. William, from a legal standpoint, what is the criteria for running as an independent candidate?
One, I think the most distinguishing criteria is that you should not be a member of any political party by the time of submitting your application. All other criteria are similar. You have to be a citizen. You have to meet the integrity threshold. You must not have been convicted of any offense. Of course, you must, for an independent candidate, you must have a symbol, the symbol that you'll run within the election. You must have paid the prescribed fees to IBC. And then thereafter, and you conduct your campaign. So other than not being a member of an existing political party, I think all other requirements are the same with other parties' candidates.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just that aspect. You should not have been a member of that political party prior, a certain time frame prior to those elections being held.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Meshach, you decided to go at it independently. Has it been an easy ride in terms of the playing field? Is it a level playing field between independent candidates and those running under big political parties?
Actually, there's a challenge as an independent candidate because it's a new thing to our country, right? Actually, some people don't really understand what being an independent candidate is. They think that it is a party. They think it's independent, Independent Party of Kenya, right? But I think with the fallout and the major exodus that we are going to see in the coming days, we'll have many independent candidates. Hence, the people in the ground are going to understand being an independent candidate is just vying as yourself, as Meshach Kimtai, right? And there's a very big challenge, yes, because on my own view, to win as an independent candidate, it's either you become an alternative, yeah, or you're very, very popular that you cannot be branded as anti that party that has a majority in your area. Like, for example, myself in Nandi County, Jubilee, it's a Jubilee stronghold, right? But there is no way in Nandi County you can separate Meshach Kimtai from Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
Right.
Yeah, right? So at least for me, it's an easy ride. But for other people, it's going to be a hard task.
And I mean, that's a very thin line there in terms of bringing that alternative voice that Kenyans are looking for. I mean, William, right now IBC has given that leeway for those who lose out in the nomination process to run as independent candidates. And the bigger question would be, are they running as independent candidates because they had that revelation to run as independent candidates, or are they doing it because they have no other alternative to fulfill their personal ambitions to get to elective position? And so, in terms of really bringing that alternative voice, are we likely to see that in this general election?
I think there are two sides of that issue.
Yeah.
There are those who, from the word go, had made a decision that they are going to be independent candidates and they're not going to ascribe to any political parties. Among those, I think it will have been very genuine that they have a manifesto. This is their policy. This is what they believe in. That's their passion. And they pass across that message. Then, of course, there is the other caliber of independent candidates who, for genuinely one reason or another, just as Meshach said, bungled nominations, maybe where the party has preferred candidates, where they're dissatisfied with the processes prior to and after nominations, then they bolt out, taking advantage of the legal leeway.
Right.
They bolt out and make a stand to vie as independent candidates. So for a majority of those, you'll find that it is lack of having been unfairly so denied an opportunity in those parties. Then they take a principled stand to vie as independent. They certainly may have an alternative policy standpoint.
Right.
Yeah. A case in point, when you look at Busia County, the candidate who has now moved out of the dominant political party, wanting to stand as independent. He has consistently said that the incumbent governor has not performed. And him, on behalf of the majority stakeholders of that county, they want to take a stand and take back that leadership from the incumbent governor.
All right.
Yes.
I mean, so these are things that independent candidates are bringing up. But Meshach, what is the reception towards independent candidates? It's clear that as it is, the electorate doesn't quite have a grasp of the electoral process as we know it. So bringing in a very new concept of independent candidates, like you mentioned, a lot of confusion on the ground. But how are they responding to it?
Actually, I'm privileged to be the leader of independent candidates in Kenya. That is after so many candidates, aspiring candidates, foresaw that there's going to be unfairness in their parties. We came together, formed an association to engage IBC just as one. So I think I really understand the challenges that independent candidates are going through all over. And being an independent candidate is not an easy thing. Yeah, because first, as you said, you have to be cleared by the register of political parties by not being a member. That is very easy. But the one that is not easy is a symbol. Yeah.
Right.
So you have to provide a symbol that is to the register of political parties, and most of the time, you're told that the symbol must be unique. It should not resemble any political party, and it should not resemble any independent candidate. So you find like somebody submitting like 10 symbols, and it takes like 1 to 2 weeks, that is, to approve a symbol. So people who think that they're going just to jump from being like after being bungled in these nominations just to become independent candidates, they should be really timely. And I can say that for you to be timely, you have to do it this month.
Right.
If you don't do it, if you do it, that is in the month of May, it's going to be tricky because the timelines are going to, I mean, we have some timelines that is in the election period in Kenya, right? And that is compliance. So I think the issue of the symbol is a bit a challenge. And again, on ground, that is a reception. People don't really understand what being an independent candidate is. And ideally, being an independent candidate, as he said, is two-way, yeah? But it's supposed to be being on a level that you can be impartial, just going on what the wananchi want, right? Like in other countries, we have MPs who are not on the opposition and they're not in government,
right.
yeah? They support issues based on what the people want. But in Kenya, because we are having unfair nominations all over, I think mostly we are going to have being an independent candidate as an option. But you'll see such independent candidates being affiliated to some political parties.
And that there is the problem, because we're talking about independent candidates bringing an alternative voice. And so if they are affiliated to another political party, because like you said, it's very difficult right now to differentiate between you and Jubilee, because you know that's still the perception that your supporters would have. William?
Yes, 2 points. Just as Meshach has said, that a lot of the people at the grassroots do not really understand this concept of independent candidates. The law strictly applied. I've just been reminded by one viewer, there's also the requirement that you have to be endorsed by the signature of a certain number of persons who should not be members of any political parties.
Right.
Yeah. So you find situations, the one we talk about, where people are members of other political parties, you've been recruited into a political party you do not know, then you go forward to endorse an independent candidate. That will not be legitimate. Issue 2, more or less, you'll be tempted to say that in Kenya, you have an independence of convenience to get elected. And thereafter, you find that after getting into the county assembly, into parliament, senate, as an independent, you align yourself with the majority party from your electoral constituency on all issues, policy issues. In other democracies, a truly independent candidate should be a candidate who takes a principled stand on policy issues. Even where the majority party from electoral constituency endorses a policy issue which is against your stand, then you'll be able to stand up and challenge it and even vote against it.
Right. And so, I mean, in terms of, in terms of bringing that alternative voice right now with the concept of independent candidates in Kenya, is it being given the seriousness it deserves, or is it just another option to get there?
To me, I would say, of course, without prejudice, that so far our democracy is still growing. We have more steps to take. But more or less, it will seem to me that for those, especially in this election, 2017, a majority of those candidates will want to go to vie as independents. They'll want to use it as a ticket to get elected, to get into those positions. However, in 2013, in contrast, you find that, like in the National Assembly, the member for Buri constituency, the member for Cherangani, the member for Kibwezi East, and the member for, there's a constituency, there are actually 4 of them. Them, from the very word go, they chose to be independent. They had their message, they campaigned, and they got elected. And you've been able to see quite a few of them. They've not been siding with the majority party. They've been taking principled stance.
All right, I'm just going to move on from this, but Meshach, really, in terms of that alternative voice that I'm really focusing on, for you, for example, you chose to do this a bit earlier on, way before the nomination debacle began, and so it's a bit different from those who will be jumping ship after losing out on the nomination process. But what are you offering that's different from what Jubilee is offering?
Actually, as much as, of course, as a candidate too, I'll have an option of voting for the president, right? And it's clear that I'll vote for Uhuru Kenyatta as the president.
Right.
But again, being an independent candidate, and as much as I support Jubilee, I have an advantage because I can condemn some stuff that are happening in government without being what? Being branded as not being loyal to the party. Like, for example, I can just sit in Jubilee and say that I'm happy with the prices of unga and prices of commodities and high cost of living and talk of double-digit inflation and what have you. So there are so many things that I'm not happy about in Jubilee that I can point out and say now, we should stop corruption, we should bring the cost of living down and create employment to the youth and stuff. So
I mean, you are the leader of independent candidates in Kenya. We've had independent candidates who've, given their bids to run as president. We would have expected you to support those independent candidates because, I mean, it's just a very blurred line for Kenyans then to understand why we have an independent candidate, but he's still Jubilee or he's still pro-NASA.
Actually, as I can say right now, as you said, it's not the same as 2013 because right now we have new laws that are barring, that is party hopping and stuff. So we are going to have majority of independent candidates being independent candidates as an, just as another option.
As another special purpose vehicle.
But not as an alternative.
All right.
You get? Yeah.
And that there is the tragedy because we need an alternative voice. But let's focus again on the Standard newspaper. And on page 9 of the paper here, Raila mocks rival Jubilee over aborted primaries. Now, this is another back and forth that we've seen. And, feeling like the real issue here is being neglected because Jubilee carried out shambolic nominations. Well, ODM began this, and Jubilee pointed a finger and started laughing. And then Jubilee followed, and now ODM starts laughing. And it's just, these are leaders who are looking to lead this country. And the bigger issue should be why we are lacking internal party democracy in the first place. William, your thoughts on this article? Yes,
certainly. And it's not only just Raila. Over the past few days, Kenyans have been bashing each other on social media. Pro-Jubilee supporters had initially been mocking ODM supporters, and now NASA supporters mocking Jubilee supporters. I think it's high time Kenyans realized in 1991, when Section 2A of the then Constitution was repealed to introduce multi-party democracy, it was for the benefit of all Kenyans.
Right.
Kenya is our ship. We are in it together. We sink or sail together, as it were. And this is our democracy. Therefore, there ought to be a clarion call for everyone, regardless of what political affiliation you are in, for us to take a relook, to take stock of these political parties, because today you're in government, tomorrow you're in opposition. You're in opposition today, tomorrow you'll be in government. So political parties, which, by the way, are funded by the taxpayers, every political party that has won some certain seats in parliament, they are funded by the exchequer. Thereby, there's that issue of accountability. You need to account to the public how you've been using those funds. So therefore, as you point out, the issue of internal democracies in those political parties is an issue that should concern all of us. We should criticize objectively, pointing out at the weaknesses and the flaws in those political parties, but not really bashing, because if you bash, you do not help.
Right.
Yes.
All right. I'd just like us to shift gears for a moment and head live to Mombasa County, where our political editor and senior anchor Ben Kitili has been holding fort, also following up on the ODM nominations in the coastal region. Ben, good morning. What can you tell us from Mombasa, especially after very heated nomination exercise yesterday?
Good morning, Michelle, and your panel. And it has been a grueling exercise here in Mombasa County, a very orange county like we have been reporting. Of course, ODM is the dominant party in this particular region, but especially this county of Mombasa. So it was obviously expected to be a very hotly contested affair in all the elective positions, all the way apart from the governor's position, the senatorial ticket, the battle for the women rep position, as well as the members of parliament. All of them, apart from two, all having contest to fight for the ODM ticket in preparations for this year's general election. And we have some results for you. Of course, we shall be waiting for some time to get all the results from the 5 counties, that is Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, and Lamu. So we have some results for you. And what we do know for the biggest one, of course, the biggest contest that we were expecting in this region is the Malindi parliamentary seat ODM ticket. There was a battle between the woman representative Aisha Jumwa and the incumbent in Malindi, that is William Tengo. It was a very grueling affair. Francis Ntomo was there the whole day, but Aisha Jumwa has managed to clinch that ODM ticket for the Malindi parliamentary seat. She is said to become the flag bearer for the Orange Party in Malindi constituency. Remember, she was very instrumental in campaigning for William Tengo during that by-election after the immediate former MP Dan Kazungu was appointed to the cabinet by President Uhuru Kenyatta. She was very instrumental in going out crisscrossing that constituency, drumming up support for William Tengo. Then they had to come face to face. There were issues of which candidate between the two the party was supporting. Aisha Juma claiming that the Kilifi governor, Amason Kingi, was putting resources to support her rival, but she has managed to clinch that seat. The other seat, of course, was the Mombasa senatorial seat, which ODM also had some candidates trying to find out who among them will be able to get that ticket to succeed the current Senator Hassan Omar Sarai, and one Hamisi Mwaguya has emerged victorious in that battle. It was a four-horse race. The other one is the Likoni parliamentary seat, which is held by Masoud Mwahima, and the current woman representative for Mombasa, Mishi Mboko, has been gunning for that ticket for the Orange Party to be able to face the incumbent and other candidates in the August 8th general election. Mishi Mboko has managed to clinch that ticket, ODM ticket, for Likoni constituency, beating her two rivals. And we also have some results from the South Coast and Sambweni constituency, another titanic battle for that parliamentary seat that was between the incumbent Ramadan Dori and Suleiman Dori, rather, and Omar Idiboga. Ramadan Dori become emerging victorious in that. So let me just read you the numbers that we do have so far from the coastal strip here with me. Let me start with the Mombasa senatorial ticket in the ODM party. It was a four-horse race. Hamisi Mwaguya has managed to emerge victorious with 7,000 votes, 460. In second place was Mohammed Faki, who had 5,219 votes. In the third place was Hisham Widau, having 2,702 votes. In a distant fourth was Faris Rubea, garnering 680. Hamisi Mwaguya, emerging victorious, is said to be given that ODM ticket to fight it out for the senatorial seat here in Mombasa on the 8th of August. In terms of the Likoni parliamentary seat, the ODM ticket, Mishi Mboko garnered 5,935 votes, beating her closest rival Hamisi Domoko with 2,000 votes. 3,564 votes. Bernard Were having 300 votes only. And in Likoni constituency, all the sitting members of the county assembly from Likoni, bar one, have been defeated in this election. That is the MCA from Tongwe, that is Hamisi Musa. Hamisi Musa is the only sitting member of the Mombasa County Assembly from Likoni constituency who has managed to garner to get the ODM ticket to defend their seat. That is Likoni, Mishi Mboko, 5,935. In Malindi constituency, Aisha Juma managed to garner 8,436 votes, beating William Tengo by close to 5,000 votes. Mtengo has 3,700 votes. So Aisha Juma will be set to be given that ODM ticket to fight it out for the parliamentary seat of Malindi. Not sure what an incumbent like Mtengo will be doing. Will he go as an independent candidate, or will he throw in the towel? That is set. We are keeping an eye to see what happens there in Malindi. In Sambweni, in the south coast, in Kwale County, Ramadan Dori, the incumbent, garnering 2,780 votes, beating Omar Idiboga, who was gaining a lot of momentum on the ground with less than 800 votes, garnering 1,965 votes. But we have talking to the returning officer in Msambweni, who has told us that the results for 2 polling stations had to be cancelled because the voter register was erratic and they had to be cancelled. So obviously we keep an eye on this to just find out what the ODM National Elections Board does about this. Are these the final results? But what we have, these are the numbers, Michelle, that we have so far. Mishimboko has clinched the Likoni ODM ticket. Ramadan Suleiman Dori has clinched the Msambweni one, incumbent. And of course, Aisha Juma has clinched the Malindi parliamentary one. And we have an ODM aspirant, candidate for that matter, for the Senate seat of Mombasa. That is Hamisi Mwaguya. So that's the latest that we have. Michelle, our team here will continue to follow these results. Of course, we are keeping an eye to see what happens in Changamwe constituency, where the incumbent Omar Mwinyi was facing some resistance from Goshi Ali Juma. Of course, we understand that the incumbent has been in the lead. He did get into some trouble yesterday following some fracas in Changamwe. We're also keeping an eye on what's happening here, where I am in Nyali constituency. That battle between Said Abdallah Salim and Mohammed Ali. Of course, very hotly contested. We are keeping an eye on that, Said having a lead. We're also keeping an eye on what's happening in Jomvu constituency. So that's what we have, the latest from down here at the coastal strip. Michelle Mishimboko has a ticket. Aisha Juma has a ticket, said to be given a ticket by the ODM party, as is Suleiman Dori and Hamisi Mwaguya. Back to you, Michelle.
All right, many thanks, Ben Kitili. They're reporting for us live from Nyali constituency, Mombasa County, where the ODM nominations took place in 5 coastal counties of Mombasa, Kilifi, Kwale, Lamu, and Tana River yesterday. And also results coming in there. Ben telling us that Aisha Juma and Mishi Mboko have managed to clinch tickets, or the ODM ticket to run for the position of women representative. Still keeping an eye on the hotly contested constituencies there. Nyali constituency, Changamwe constituency, among those also still waiting on results from the other counties to come in. Kilifi County as well, results also coming in. But remember, voting had been cancelled or postponed in various constituencies, especially in Kwale County. So we'll be giving you an update on that later on. Ben Kitili and the rest of our team are holding fort there. And here in studio, William Okech and Meshak Kimutai, gentlemen, as we wind up, William, very briefly, your final comments. Ben, they're asking, some of those who've already lost out, we don't know what they're going to do next. And of course, the nomination ticket is what's right there, yes, the only option right now for them.
Oh, yes, certainly. In those strongholds, you win the nomination, then you are half already elected. Of course, it was foreseen the elections, especially in the so-called strongholds, was going to be very competitive. And a majority of those voters, for one reason or another, had been dissatisfied with the performance of some MPs. But that case in point, the case of Malindi, Aisha Juma was one woman who was very active. She was very visible in ODM activities. She was among the Pangani 6 who were arrested at that time. So you find that in itself has given her that profile. And she took on this incumbent who was just elected over a year ago. So as it is, those who lose out, they'll have to definitely make a choice. Go independent or look for something else.
All right, and of course, Meshak, hoping that they also go independent and join you in that race.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Actually, I would like to congratulate Aisha and Mishi. Them being women, it's really encouraging. So I want to say that, and also tell the public that being an independent candidate doesn't mean that you're really a rival of any party. right? So they should understand independent candidates and know that most of them became independent candidates because of the unfairness in their parties. Like, for example, me, I became an independent candidate because